If she never feels your absence, she will never feel the need to miss you. Most men believe that staying constantly present is the way to keep a woman interested. They think more messages, more attention, more time together will somehow strengthen the connection. But what they don't realize is constant presence doesn't build attraction, it slowly erases it. Because when you're always there, you remove the space where emotions are supposed to grow. Think about it. If she hears from you all the time, if you're always available, always replying instantly, always showing up, there's no gap, no silence, no moment where she stops and wonders about you. Everything is being handed to her in real time. And because of that, she never gets a chance to feel your absence. And without absence, there is no missing. Attraction doesn't just live in moments together, it lives in the moments apart. It's in the silence after the conversation ends. It's in the time when she's alone, replaying what you said, how you made her feel, how you showed up. That's where emotional connection deepens. But if you never give her that space, you interrupt that entire process. When you're constantly present, you become predictable, familiar, easy to access. And while that might feel safe, it doesn't create emotional tension. It doesn't create that pull that makes someone think about you when you're not around. But the moment you step back, everything changes. Now there are pauses. Now there are moments where she expects you, but you're not there. And in those moments, her mind starts to fill in the space. She begins to think about you, not because you're reaching out, but because you're not. That's the shift. Because now, instead of you always thinking about her, she starts thinking about you. She wonders what you're doing. She replays your last interaction. She feels the difference between when you were there and when you're not. And that difference creates emotional movement. This is how missing begins, not through constant contact, but through controlled absence. Not through chasing, but through stepping back and allowing her emotions to develop naturally. You're not disappearing completely. You're just no longer overfilling the space. And here's the key: you don't create space to manipulate her. You create space because you have your own life, your own focus, your own priorities. You're not waiting around, you're moving forward. And that energy is what makes your absence feel real. Because when your presence is no longer guaranteed, it becomes valuable. And when she starts to feel that value in your absence, she won't ignore it. She'll start to miss it. Because the truth is simple: people don't miss what they always have, they miss what they no longer do. Most men think being memorable is about how often they show up. They believe if they stay in constant contact, if they keep the conversation going, if they're always present in her day, she'll naturally think about them more. But that's not how memory works. People don't remember frequency, they remember feeling. You can talk to someone every single day and still be forgettable. Because if your interactions are flat, predictable, and emotionally neutral, they don't leave a mark. They pass through her day like background noise there, but not impactful. And when you're gone, there's nothing strong enough for her mind to hold on to. But when you become emotionally memorable, everything changes. Now it's not about how long you talk, it's about how she feels during those moments. Does she laugh more than usual? Does she feel understood? Does she feel challenged, excited, intrigued? Those emotional spikes create anchors in her mind. They turn ordinary moments into experiences she replays later, because emotions are what the brain holds onto. When you create moments that make her feel something real, whether it's excitement, curiosity, tension, or even a little bit of mystery, you're planting something deeper than just conversation. You're creating a memory that sticks. And when she's alone, when there's silence, when there's space, those are the moments that come back to her. She starts replaying how you made her feel. Not what you said exactly, not every detail, but the emotion, the energy, the experience of being around you. And that's what makes her miss you, not your constant presence. But the emotional impact you left behind, this is why being nice and always available often doesn't work. It's safe, it's comfortable, but it doesn't create emotional depth. It doesn't create that pull. It doesn't make her feel something strong enough to remember when you're gone. But when you're emotionally engaging, when you're present in the moment, when you're not afraid to express personality, humor, and confidence, you create contrast. You stand out from the ordinary interactions she has with everyone else. And standing out is what creates memory. You don't need to talk all day. You just need to make the time you do spend together meaningful. Let the conversations have energy. Let there be moments of laughter, moments of silence, moments of tension, because those variations are what make the experience feel real. And here's the deeper truth: when she associates strong emotions with you, your absence doesn't feel empty, it feels noticeable. She feels the difference because now it's not just about missing a person, it's about missing how that person made her feel. And when your presence becomes an emotional experience instead of just time spent, you don't have to force her to think about you. She naturally will, because people don't miss conversations, they miss emotions they can't easily replace. Most men think the way to stay on her mind is to be more available, to always respond, always show up, always make themselves easy to reach. But what they don't realize is the easier it is to access you, the less reason she has to think about you when you're not there, because there's no mystery, no distance, no sense of, I wonder what he's doing. When your life revolves around her, when your time is always open for her, you unintentionally signal that there's nothing else going on. And while that might feel like dedication, it actually lowers your perceived value. Not because you're not enough, but because you've made yourself too easy to access. But when your life is full, everything changes. When you have goals, purpose, routines, and things that genuinely matter to you, you naturally become less available. Not because you're trying to create distance, but because your attention is divided in a healthy way. You're building something, moving forward, focused on your own path, and that energy is different. Now, she can't just reach you anytime she wants. Sometimes you're busy, sometimes you're focused, sometimes you're unavailable, not in a forced way, but in a real grounded way. And that limitation creates something powerful value, because people value what they don't have unlimited access to. Now, instead of you always being there, she has to wait sometimes. She has to wonder what you're doing. She has to fit into your schedule instead of you always fitting into hers. And that shift changes how she experiences you. You become someone with a life she's not fully a part of yet. And that creates curiosity. She starts to imagine what you're doing, who you're with, what your world looks like outside of her. And that imagination pulls her in, because now you're not just a person she talks to, you're someone she's trying to understand, someone she wants to be a part of. This is where missing begins to grow naturally, because when she doesn't have constant access to you, your presence becomes something she looks forward to, something she values more when she gets it. And when it's not there, she notices the difference. But here's the key: this only works when it's real. If you're pretending to be busy, if you're playing games just to create distance, it feels forced. But when your life is genuinely full, when you're actually focused on your growth, your purpose, your direction, that authenticity carries weight. She can feel it. And that's what makes your absence meaningful, because now when you're not there, it's not because you're ignoring her. It's because you have a life that demands your attention. And that makes your time, your presence, your energy feel earned. And when someone has to earn access to your world, they value it more. And when she starts valuing your presence more, your absence naturally becomes something she feels and something she begins to miss. Most men don't realize that attraction isn't just built on how you start interactions, it's deeply influenced by how you end them. The way you leave a conversation, the way you walk away from a moment, the timing of your exit, all of it shapes how she feels after you're gone. And this is where a lot of men lose their advantage. They stay too long, they keep texting even after the conversation is peaked. They stretch out calls until there's nothing left to say. They linger in moments that should have ended earlier. And in doing that, they slowly drain the energy that was there. What started as something exciting turns into something average, even boring. Because every interaction has a natural high point, a moment where the energy is strong, the connection feels alive, and emotions are engaged. And the key is to recognize that moment and leave before it fades. When you end interactions first, especially when things are going well, you create something powerful: emotional tension. She's left wanting more. The conversation didn't drag on, the energy didn't die. Instead, it ended while it still felt good. And because of that, her mind doesn't register completion, it registers interruption. It feels like something unfinished, and unfinished experiences stay in the mind longer. She starts thinking about what else could have been said, what could have happened next, how the conversation might have continued. That curiosity lingers. That feeling of not enough pulls her back mentally. This is how you stay on her mind without even being there. Because instead of giving her everything at once, You leave something behind, you create a gap, not a negative one, but an emotional one, the kind that makes her want to reconnect, to continue what was left incomplete. But when you stay too long, you remove that completely. You give her the full experience, start to finish, until there's nothing left to think about. No tension, no curiosity, no reason for her mind to go back to it. It feels finished, and what feels finished is easily forgotten. Ending interactions first also shows something deeper: control. It shows that you're not dependent on the moment, that you can enjoy it, but also walk away from it, that your life doesn't revolve around stretching every second with her. And that level of control is attractive because now she's not the one deciding when things end, you are. And that shifts the dynamic. You become someone who leaves an impression, not someone who overstays their presence. Someone who creates moments, not someone who exhausts them. So, whether it's a conversation, a call, or time spent together, pay attention to the energy. When it's high, when it feels right, step back. Leave it there, because when you leave her wanting more, she doesn't just move on, she comes back looking for it. Most men believe consistency means being completely predictable, same energy, same responses, same behavior every single time. They think that by being steady in that way, they'll build trust and attraction. And while stability matters, predictability at an emotional level can quietly kill the excitement that keeps someone thinking about you. Because when she knows exactly what you're going to do next, there's nothing left to discover. If you always text at the same time, respond the same way, react the same way, and show up with the same predictable pattern, your presence becomes easy to process. Her mind doesn't have to engage deeply because there are no surprises, no shifts, no moments that make her pause and think. And without that mental engagement, she doesn't think about you when you're not there. But when you introduce a level of unpredictability, calm, controlled, natural unpredictability, everything changes. Now, she doesn't fully know what to expect. Sometimes you respond quickly, sometimes you take your time, sometimes you're playful, sometimes you're more focused, sometimes you're available, sometimes you're not. Not in a confusing or inconsistent way, but in a way that reflects a real dynamic life. That variation creates curiosity. She starts paying closer attention to you. She starts wondering what you'll do next, how you respond, what mood you'll be in. And that curiosity keeps her mentally engaged even when you're not around, because now you're not just another predictable part of her routine. You're something her mind has to actively process. And when the mind is engaged, it keeps returning to the source of that engagement. That's how missing begins to grow, not from confusion, but from intrigue, because there's a difference between being unpredictable and being unstable. Unpredictability, in this sense, comes from having your own rhythm, your own life, your own flow. You're not reacting to her, you're moving based on your own priorities. And that makes your behavior feel natural, not forced. She senses that you're not trying to control the interaction. You're simply living your life, responding when it makes sense, engaging when it feels right. And that authenticity is what makes your unpredictability attractive instead of frustrating, because now every interaction feels a little different. There's a freshness to it, a sense that something new could happen, something unexpected could be said, something interesting could unfold, and that keeps her attention locked in. She starts thinking about you more, not because you're always there, but because you're not easily figured out. And when someone can't fully predict you, they stay mentally connected to you longer because they're always trying to understand you. And the more she thinks about you, the more she feels your absence when you're not there. And that's when missing you becomes something she can't ignore. Most men don't realize how valuable their attention really is. They treat it like something unlimited, something they can give all the time to anyone without thinking twice. They respond instantly, they stay available, they give constant validation, and they do it so often that it slowly loses its impact. Because anything given too freely stops feeling special. When you're always there, always replying, always showing interest without pause, your attention becomes expected. She doesn't have to earn it, she doesn't have to think about it, she doesn't have to value it. It's just there, like background noise. And when something feels guaranteed, it rarely creates emotional depth. But the moment you become selective with your attention, everything changes. Now, it's no longer constant, it's intentional. You're not ignoring her, you're not playing games, you're simply choosing when and how you invest your time and energy. You're no longer reacting to everything instantly. You're no longer giving unlimited access. And that shift creates something powerful, value, because people pay attention to what they might lose access to. When she doesn't hear from you as often, when your responses are not immediate, when your attention isn't always guaranteed, she starts to notice it. She starts to feel the difference between having your attention and not having it. And that difference creates awareness. Now, instead of you always thinking about her, she starts thinking about you. She starts wondering when you'll reach out, what you're doing, why you're not as available as before. And those thoughts keep her mentally connected to you, even in your absence. This is how your attention turns into something she values, not because you told her to value it, but because she experienced what it's like without it. She felt the gap, the silence, the change, and that made her realize it wasn't something she could take for granted anymore. And here's the deeper layer: when your attention is limited, she starts investing more to receive it. She might reach out first. She might try harder to keep the conversation going. She might put in more effort to get your time, your energy, your focus. And every time she does that, her emotional investment increases because people become attached to what they invest in. So instead of you constantly giving, now there's a balance. She's meeting you halfway or even coming towards you more. And that dynamic creates stronger attraction than one sided effort ever could. But this only works when it's real. If you're pretending, if you're forcing distance just to create a reaction, it eventually breaks. But when you genuinely value your own time, when you naturally become selective because your life is full, your attention carries weight, it feels earned. And when someone has to earn your attention, they don't just enjoy it, they appreciate it. And when she starts appreciating your presence, your absence becomes something she feels deeply because your attention is no longer something she always has, it's something she starts to miss.